The ocean raft expedition across the Pacific Ocean was one of the most daring scientific journeys ever attempted. Scientists and explorers decided to cross the largest ocean on Earth using a simple raft made of wood and rope. Their goal was not comfort or adventure alone, but science. They wanted to understand how ocean currents move, how sea life survives far from land, and whether humans could safely drift across the ocean using natural forces like wind and water currents. This journey was extremely risky because the Pacific Ocean is vast, unpredictable, and powerful. From the first day itself, the expedition showed how dangerous life at sea could be. One of the earliest incidents during the expedition was the realization of how small and fragile the raft was compared to the ocean. Once the raft moved away from land, there was nothing but water in all directions. The raft rose and fell with the waves, sometimes gently and sometimes violently. The crew understood that they had no control over the ocean. Unlike large ships with engines, the raft depended only on currents and wind. This made the scientists feel helpless at times. The feeling of being completely surrounded by water created fear and respect for nature. Storms were one of the most frightening incidents during the expedition. In the middle of the Pacific Ocean, storms can appear suddenly without warning. Dark clouds would gather quickly, strong winds would blow, and huge waves would crash into the raft. During these storms, the raft would shake violently, and water would flood the deck. The crew had to work together to tie down equipment, hold on to ropes, and protect themselves from being washed away. At times, they feared the raft might break apart. These storm incidents tested the physical strength and mental courage of everyone on board. Big waves were another constant danger. Some waves were taller than houses and moved with great force. When such waves hit the raft, it felt like being lifted into the sky and then dropped suddenly. The raft had no walls, so waves often washed straight over it. The crew and their belongings would get soaked again and again. Sleeping was difficult and sometimes impossible because the raft never stopped moving. These wave incidents made daily life exhausting and dangerous. Water shortage was a serious incident that occurred many times during the expedition. Fresh drinking water is extremely important for survival, but the raft could only carry a limited supply. The crew had to carefully measure how much water each person drank every day. Sometimes they had to survive on very little water. When rain fell, it was a blessing. The crew would quickly place containers to collect rainwater. If rain did not come for many days, dehydration became a real threat. The fear of running out of water caused stress and anxiety among the scientists. Food problems were also common during the journey. The crew carried dried and preserved food, but it was not always enough or fresh. Sometimes food became wet and spoiled because of seawater. To survive, the scientists had to fish. Fishing in the open ocean is not easy. Sometimes they caught flying fish that jumped onto the raft at night. Other times they caught larger fish using simple lines. While fishing helped them survive, it also showed how dependent they were on the ocean for life. Extreme heat during the daytime was another serious incident. Under the open sun, the raft became very hot. There was no shade except small covers made of cloth. The sun burned their skin, caused dehydration, and made them tired. At the same time, nights were often very cold. The temperature dropped sharply, and wet clothes made the cold worse. This extreme change between hot days and cold nights weakened their bodies and made them vulnerable to sickness. Health problems occurred frequently during the expedition. Constant wetness caused skin infections and sores. Small cuts became serious because salt water slowed healing. Some crew members suffered from fever, exhaustion, and stomach problems. There was no doctor and no hospital. Medical supplies were very limited. The crew had to treat each other using basic first aid and knowledge. Every illness or injury felt dangerous because help was thousands of kilometers away. Encounters with sea animals were another memorable incident. Sharks often followed the raft, attracted by food scraps or fish blood. Seeing sharks swimming just below the raft was terrifying. Although sharks did not attack, their presence created fear. At night, glowing plankton lit up the water, and strange sea creatures could be seen. Flying fish jumped onto the raft, surprising the crew. These animal encounters reminded them that they were visitors in the ocean's world. Equipment failure caused many serious incidents. The raft was built simply, but even simple tools can break. Ropes snapped, sails tore, and wooden parts cracked under pressure. Scientific instruments used to measure temperature, currents, and weather sometimes stopped working due to saltwater damage. When equipment failed, the crew had to repair it themselves using limited tools and materials. Every repair was important because broken equipment could mean loss of valuable scientific data or even loss of life. Navigation problems were another challenge. The raft had no engine and very limited steering ability. Ocean currents controlled the direction of movement. Sometimes the raft drifted away from the planned route. This caused fear that they might miss land completely and continue drifting endlessly. Without modern GPS, navigation depended on stars, sun position, and basic instruments. Cloudy skies made navigation even harder. These incidents showed how difficult sea travel was in ancient times. One of the most painful incidents was loneliness. For weeks and months, the crew saw no other ships and no land. The ocean looked the same every day. This isolation affected the mind deeply. Some crew members felt sadness, fear, and hopelessness. Small arguments occurred because of stress and exhaustion. Staying mentally strong became as important as staying physically healthy. Encouraging each other was necessary for survival. Sleep problems were very common. The raft moved constantly, making it hard to rest. Storms, waves, and fear kept the crew awake at night. Wet bedding made sleep uncomfortable. Lack of proper rest made people tired, slow, and irritable. This increased the risk of accidents. Even simple tasks became difficult when the body was exhausted. Fire was another serious danger. Fire was needed for cooking, but using fire on a wooden raft in the middle of the ocean was risky. Strong winds could spread flames quickly. Water was limited, so putting out a fire would be difficult. The crew had to be extremely careful while cooking. One small mistake could destroy the raft completely. This constant risk made daily life tense. Mental stress was one of the hardest incidents to overcome. Knowing that help was impossible created fear. Any mistake could mean death. The sound of waves, the endless horizon, and the uncertainty of survival affected everyone. Some days felt hopeful, while others felt dark and hopeless. Maintaining hope required strong teamwork and belief in the mission. Despite all these incidents, the crew continued their scientific work. They collected data on ocean currents, water temperature, weather patterns, and marine life. Even during storms and illness, they tried to record observations. This dedication showed their commitment to science. These records later helped scientists understand how oceans work and how ancient people might have traveled across seas. One important incident occurred when land was finally sighted after a long time. Seeing land after weeks of open ocean brought great joy and relief. However, reaching land was also dangerous. Coral reefs and strong currents near islands could destroy the raft. Careful navigation was needed to avoid crashing. Even at the end of the journey, danger did not disappear. The expedition proved many important ideas. It showed that simple rafts can survive long ocean journeys. It proved that ocean currents can carry people across vast distances. It also showed how strong and weak humans are at the same time. Strong in courage and teamwork, but weak compared to the power of nature. In conclusion, the ocean raft expedition across the Pacific was filled with dangerous incidents and unforgettable experiences. Storms, hunger, thirst, illness, fear, and loneliness tested the crew every day. Equipment failures, animal encounters, and navigation problems added to the danger. Yet, through teamwork, courage, and determination, the scientists survived. Their journey helped the world understand the ocean better and showed the importance of respecting nature. This expedition remains a powerful example of human bravery and the desire to learn, even in the face of great danger.